Welcome to the Connections Post Show. Super excited that you are here with us as always. We're here with Layla, Andy, and Tanner. Everybody say hi.
Hello.
Say hi.
I don't do what I'm told.
Yeah,
That's
clear.
Wow. Personalities are on display today.
If you're wondering what we're like, this is a pretty good picture.
Yep.
So how's everybody doing this morning?
Great. Especially after, I thought it was a great service. Yeah. And really awesome news at the end. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. The Imagine More campaign is just going to make it so that we're able to have more space for people here in this place. And super excited. I mean, I've only been here a short time, but I mean, even since I arrived, second week of September, like the church has grown. And that is wild to experience coming from churches that were either, just steady, which is not a bad problem, or declining, which is, there is a challenge. And so, this is an absolutely wonderful problem for us to have, is to be growing at a pace that we're trying to keep up with. But nevertheless, it is a problem. And so looking at that. So if you haven't had a chance to go online and look at our building plans, I was able to get in there and look at some of the renderings and everything of what the building's going to look like. And it's just going to be a fantastic space. It's going to be wonderful for us to be able to reach more people, to have more space to interact. Because right now, in between services is super quick, and it's just a little bit harder to get to know people. But it's one of those challenges that we're looking forward to facing on and everything. And so, what are some things that you're looking forward to with the new build?
Oh, more dedicated youth space.
All right.
I have to.
Absolutely.
It's something I've been wanting for years, just because, being as active in youth as I am, getting here early to set up and take down, it'd be nice to just, hey, we can leave some of this stuff up so the kids can just come in and play with it as needed on Sundays and just free us up to do other things.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's my own selfish reason. But also, like you said, to reach more people, and also selfishly, maybe going back to 2 services is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Because then you can, you just spread that out, and we can have more time, like you said, to interact with each other. And when Tanner comes to visit, I can talk with him a little bit more.
A little bit, yeah.
If you're lucky.
So I'm like, all right, get out of the way.
I'll be the guy who runs out the door.
Awesome. Well, talking about God with Us, Heaven on Earth series that Perry's been doing. Last week we had Fight Ministries here with us, and that was an incredible interaction. Talking about God around us, and if we're looking at what we have that Perry's gone over this morning, God with us, what are some takeaways that you had from his message?
Well, these are one of those messages that I hate, because it makes me sit back and go, oh yeah, I do treat God that way sometimes. Like when things are going good, I don't reach out to him as much as I should.
Yeah.
And then one thing goes bad and I'm like, hey, remember me? I'm the neighbor that's taking all of your stuff. So I was like, oh, thanks, Perry. You didn't need to direct that right at me. But,
Right. Yeah,
so just one of those. But just a constant reminder of how not to treat God, which is always good.
Yeah. What else?
I was looking at you because I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I'm good at that.
No, you can cut Tanner off all day long.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Tanner who?
I'm the traitor. Really?
I know. Trader Tanner. I like this. I really appreciated just being able to hear this message in general, because I think it's easy, at least for me, to... I always say convicted, and I forgot what Steve said for a different word, but I feel convicted a lot of times because...
Motivated, remember?
Yes, motivated. Yeah, the positive.
A positive side of things.
Yeah. But just knowing that I can... But like God's always there, right? Like he's constantly forgiving me because I screw up all the time, and my priorities always get scrambled, especially with kids and just life and work, and I have high responsibility, so I don't know. I just can't figure out how to keep God at the top of my list all the time. I'm sorry. I keep doing this because I am convinced I have boogers coming out because I'm recovering from a cold. He won't let me know.
Yes, I would. So I'd let everybody know.
People in the chat are going to be like, please clear your boogers. So I feel very subconscious about the congestion that I have. But yeah, so I really appreciate the foundations of being able to hear from, our church that this is okay and God is always here for you and you always have this reset, right? Like, I know I have that, but it just resonates differently with me when I hear it out loud from other people, especially from my church and, our church family, because we're not perfect.
Nope.
Right.
And I'm never going to be, but I can always keep trying, and God will always forgive me, and He'll always be there. He wants to have a relationship with me, and I don't know. It's very reassuring to hear that out loud and to be able to hear a message like we did today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tanner, do you have any takeaways?
I mean,
No, he doesn't.
Or Tanner, do you have any?
It's all
I was going to cut him off. No.
but I think it's good. Like Layla said, it's really good to hear that from the church. And I think Perry mentioning Romans 5, how we can often kind of become numb to it because we've heard it all. If you've been in church for a long time, like it sometimes just feels like a platitude of like, this is something people say. But I think it's a good reminder of we can have that being said on the stage. And then we also, in the community at this church, like you have a reminder of there are people around you who are going to encourage you in that. That last step that he gave you of like finding accountability, like this is a really great place for that. There are a lot of people around here who are willing to help you with that. And I think that's a great reminder to be said from the stage to encourage all of us to reach out to people for that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I appreciate you touching on like God being with us, and even still, despite the things that we're experiencing, going through and saying like, "Hey, God, on a Sunday, I love you. Like, this is great." And then throughout the week, just being like, "Oh, like I know how to do this, and I know how to do this, and I can do that. Like, I'm good on my own."
Yep.
But God's grace is sufficient, and like thank Him for that. But our tendency is to blame God for the decisions that we're making and the consequences of those decisions. And like everyday life, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like God, why do you, nope, that was on me. My bad. And just having the humility to really step back and say, okay, God, this is all about you. This is what you have called me to. And I'm going to give you glory and praise through all of this stuff, whether it's high or low, whatever I'm going through. I really want to make sure that God is at the forefront of my mind and everything. And what are some practical ways that we can do that? Because we always want to look into the practical, right? We don't want to just say like, oh, this is the theory behind what we're doing. Like, what are some ways that throughout any given week, you are going to say, I'm going to turn my focus back to God, and I'm going to, rededicate myself in this moment to following God. And like, yes, we're going to stumble. We're not perfect, like you just said. What do you do to recenter yourself and focus back on your time and life with God?
I am an extreme extrovert, if you haven't guessed yet. So for me, talking with other people or interacting helps. So like having, a good text buddy that can be like, because we'll like text and be like, hey, what are you drawing tonight? Because we're both trying to work on our art side of things. Like to have that, but then have the same people. Like I know you can be, if I need something or be like, hey, what did you read tonight? And I should be going, my Bible. But nope, I'm like, Batman comic book or something like that. But it's at least nice to have somebody I can reach out to accountability-wise to go, hey, just to keep you thinking about it. Because for me, that's the big thing. It's like if I know my friends are kind of with me on it, it's just easier to keep doing it. And then I don't like to be the one who, when they come back to it, go, oh, I didn't do the homework, so I'm sorry. Even though I hate homework, but it's one of those things. So I like having friends and kind of accountability partners, like you mentioned, of like just good friends who can kind of call you out on your stuff. You know what I mean? It's great to have somebody there be like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, I should be doing this. So those things work for me. And also just volunteering around church, helping out with like youth group. Because I hear from kids throughout the week. They'll text me or stuff, and I'm like, oh, cool. So that like refocuses me on what I should be doing.
For sure.
I've always found, and I've said this to students a lot too, when you're talking about like avoiding temptations, but it can apply in this area too, of like being intentional with the areas that of your life where you can, if you're lucid in a moment of like, I'm going to be focused on this, like set up areas in your life where you can be reminded. So I'm a big sticky note person, like setting up sticky notes somewhere that's like a reminder of like, oh, pray in this moment. Or lots of people do it on their like mirror. They'll put a sticky note there when they get out of the shower that's a reminder for a prayer or a Bible verse or something. But like set up moments of an intentionality so that in the moment when you're like tired, if you're someone who likes to do it at night, I know a lot of people who like to do it at night can sometimes be like, I'm just so tired, I want to go to bed. Like set up certain things that make the barrier to entry easy.
Great point. For sure. And I love that too, like talking about sticky notes. There's scriptures in the Bible talking about like we set up these remembering stones, and like there's one that's called an Ebenezer, and it's this reminder so that when people can come and they see this, they ask people like, oh, what's this about? And like, I mean, it's a great way to engage other people, and it's also a great way to remember yourself. So that's awesome.
Yep.
I think making a priority to come to church in person or tune in online is really important. For me personally, it fills up my gas tank. Like when I go in spurts where I'm not able to be here, I feel it. And when I'm here, I feel that too, right? Like it just, and again, I'm not one to say you have to be in person. I think personally for me, I do better in person. But I think we have so many great online opportunities. Watch, right? Whenever you can, like make it a priority because it makes a difference. Like hearing God's word for me, and I think for others, it's impactful.
Yep.
It's almost more impactful for me to hear things than to read things. But that's the other thing that I would say is that, and I struggle so hard having good, consistent time, like with God and reading my Bible or, my Bible app. But I keep trying, and I'm very thankful for, God's forgiveness. Because if He tracked my completion rate or like my Bible streak on the Bible app, it would be a failure. Because right? Like I can get too tired, or I just don't make it a priority.
Yep.
But when I do, it makes a huge difference. And the last thing I'll say is that I try really hard to not compare myself to others, right? Because that is so self-destructive. Seeing other people's streaks on the Bible app, and I'm like, and I'm back to day one, right? Like, that's not what it's about. It's not about how often or how consistent. It's about what I get from those moments and like listening to God's promptings and what I take away from what I read or what I hear. So.
For sure. And like, we don't have a Snapchat faith, right? Like, it's not
I
about
know.
like the still moments where
Yeah.
you're like, okay, like I'm going to capture this moment and it's going to be added to my streaks and everything. And like, it's not about that. It's
Yeah.
about the relationship
Exactly.
that we have with our creator, with the God of the universe, the one who has control over everything. And I mean, that helps me. And it's great. Like I have this book on my desk called With. And I love that this was the topic and title of his message, because in the book, the premise is the way that we relate to God, the prepositions that we use as we describe our faith and walk with God, changes the way that we think about our relationship to him. If you're doing life for God, you're going to be guilty. You're going to feel guilty whenever things happen and it's not the way that you do it. Or if you do things, under God, then, it's going to be like this weight that's just unbearable, which he never intended, right? His burden is easy and his yoke is light. But if you do life with God, it's like you're doing life with your partner or with your best friend or whatever else is going on. You're walking alongside who God is and in the plan that he has. And it's so much lighter. It's so much more freeing. And
more fun.
Yes. Exactly.
When I pray, I lose track of what I'm praying. I just start calling him dude and stuff like that, like I would friends here.
So irreverent.
I know, right? But it's like, it's one of those things. I'm like, I'm glad that I have that with him. Cause I'm like, you're right. Cause it can become the weight can be too much. If you start thinking like, oh man, this all powerful being wants to hang out with me, like why? But if you just, like you said, come alongside, like that's why I always have responded better to supervisors or bosses at work who are like, we work together with something. Like you don't work for me, we work together to accomplish this. Like that immediately puts me at ease, and I'm like, oh, that's the kind of person I want to do more for.
Right.
And that's what God does for us every week. We just sometimes get hung up on the we're so bad as humans, which we are, but in that, how could he ever do this? And then we start falling down those paths and forget that, no, he is here for us. He wants us to come alongside.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. I think back to the last series that Dave just did, the Unfollow series, and talking about like being Pharisaical and, Sadduceical. I'm not sure if that's the
remember,
word, but the idea.
Because they're sad,
They're sad, you see. And just thinking about life like that is just, that's miserable. It's
terrible,
it's
right?
unbearable, right?
It's not how God wants us to be. Like,
so much that we can tend to focus on, right? But thank God that his grace is sufficient, right? So tell me about a time that you have experienced where life was just really, really good with God, and what was different about that than a time that might have been challenging?
Ooh, hitting us
Hit me with the
hard questions.
Hit me with the tell us about a time when interview question. Like, let me go back to the STAR method that I had to do with my last job. So when times were good, what was that? I mean, right now I'm in a pretty good time, or good place. Family's healthy, kids are doing well. church is growing. So youth group every single Sunday, there's more and more kids to talk with and, annoy, which is my bread and butter.
Spiritual
No
gift.
way.
Spiritual gift. Yeah, hey, I am. Yeah. But it's one of those things. But like lately, even when little hiccups happen, I think because we're so focusing on God right now, those little hiccups are more just like a little speed bump, as opposed to a couple of years ago that could have been like a huge pothole that totally threw the front end, alignment off of my car, and now I'm all like worried about that instead of, no, God's there. God like filled that little hole and made it just a little boom, boom.
Yep.
So I know it's not very descriptive, but that's just kind of how I feel right now.
That's great.
For me,
Yeah, top
like
that, Tanner.
I can't.
No, you
never,
will be
I could never.
very easy to top it. You can just step over. It's a very low bar.
Speed bump.
For now, like right now, I currently am transitioning jobs. But one of the reasons I'm doing that transition is just because right now would be one of those harder periods. I was in a position where I didn't get Sundays off. I also worked every evening. So I couldn't do like small groups and I couldn't be involved in the church. And one of the things that I had to remind myself throughout this is like the good times for me. It's always a reminder to me that God is with us in the present moment. It's not just like in the past God was with us and in the present or in the future God's with us. Like he gives us the promises for the future so that we can look forward to them and so that they encourage us in the moment. And those things in the past he encourages us to remember, so we remember the goodness of God, but we also have to remember that he's like with us in that moment. And so being intentional in the time where I am with students right now, with athletes, where I'm in a secular space, but being like, okay, God is with me in this moment. God is still there's still use for me here. Like God is not just, oh, I'm waiting for you to get to this other place where I can use you. There's use for you here. And that's been very helpful in making me a little bit more focused in that time of God with us, and rather than he's there. But yeah.
See, you just walked right over mine.
Awesome. You have any experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had some pretty low moments in life. I've touched on a couple of them throughout.
Talking about high ones, remember?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Because what I wanted to say, because I've experienced some traumatic situations where I've lost some siblings to suicide. And even in those moments where I was absolutely heartbroken, I still felt God's presence, right? Like
That's awesome.
And it's when you don't ignore it, even though you may be in your lowest of low, and you would just acknowledge that he's still there, even in a situation like that, that can be so confusing, and it really challenged. I had very challenging thoughts around faith and God and like that topic specifically, but I never once like stopped feeling his presence. And when you just take a little moment to just recognize that he's still there, it goes a really long ways. Yeah. So that's what came to mind for me. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think even in the dark times, there's lots of goodness, but you just have to intentionally recognize it. Wow. And when you do that, it's very powerful. And that's something, like I have very high positivity, and just as high as my positivity is, my negativity is like probably over. It's probably a negativity and then positivity. Yeah. But like those little moments when you recognize that he is there, like for me personally, it's like this overwhelming sense of like, you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And when
like a hug, right? A constant hug.
Yeah. I mean, it like even just saying it out loud, just saying that out loud, like gives me like, you get goosies when somebody like sings really good. It gives me this like goosebump moments. Like I'm not alone. Yeah. Like it's such a beautiful thing. And I just start there. Yeah. Just recognizing it.
Gave me goose.
Yeah.
Goosebumpies too.
I don't have to sing. You don't want me to.
Yes.
Goosebumps, as Angie called them.
I think that's a great reminder of, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about, blessed are the sad and hurting because they will see God. God is with them. And just over and over, like when we're low, that's some of the times that we can most feel God. Yep. As long as we're not ignoring him and denying who he is and everything. And so thank you for that reminder. I appreciate that. Guys, thank you so much for your time here. I appreciate you. I hope you appreciate the conversation that we've had, and I hope you keep the conversation going in your home. We're so glad that you're with us online. We would love for you to be here, but again, we understand if you can't make it. But please join us again next week for more conversation, for another sermon, for more encouragement from God. Remember, here at Connections, we love you, but more than that, Jesus loves you. God bless you and have a great week.